I want to talk about money, not from a I'm arrived or I've arrived place, but from a real place. I'm in my financial peace era, even though I've been laid off and money is a little inconsistent and we're figuring some things out, but I'm at peace and figuring it out at the same time. What I realized is having peace with your finances doesn't mean you're perfect. What it means is honesty, being honest about where you are financially. You get what I'm saying?
This is me becoming her. This is me becoming her. Yeah, unapologetic.
Welcome back to Becoming Her, episode 5, y'all. How did we get to episode 5? We got 3 more to go. This is cool. Okay, today's episode is about financial peace and literacy as well, and just conversations about money and how it ties in to our becoming, our growth, all of the things. All right, so you actually really do need some pen and paper for this one, possibly your laptop. I do have a few tips for y'all that'll be on the screen as this episode goes along, and we're going to unlock some things and some reasons how we get in these financial situations. Okay, so let's talk about it. So being laid off being laid off right before the holidays, okay, was eye-opening, right? So being laid off before the holidays just put me in a mindset like, okay, all right. Because you, as most of you know, when you get paid every 2 weeks, you plan so far ahead your paychecks, right? So I had Christmas gifts paid out, Christmas break paid out. Like I just had everything like laid out in my mind. What's interesting is when you really think about it, if you know, I have been an entrepreneur for majority of my adult life. I only been working for corporate for the last 6 or 7 years. And when you come from an entrepreneur life of like making a plan week to week or making a projection, right? And sticking to the plan. And I just came from a different mindset as an entrepreneur and then going to the like security of having a paycheck every other week. Like, I got used to it. So it was like an internal shock, like, because I literally had everything planned, preparing for senior year, just so many things. So I will say, being laid off was probably like a test to my budgeting, my skills, my being on top of things. Okay, so some of the things I had to look at while I was becoming and while I was in this new phase of life was what are my streams of income or what is my money looking like, right? So I've always been a person who has spreadsheets and I have always been pretty good at it and being a single mom because the majority of the financial responsibility is on me. So I've always been pretty good with my money because my kids are in activities, we vacation, all the things, but like I also have a avoidance issue, okay? I had it in my mental and I clearly had it with money just a little bit. So for the last 6 or 7 years, my income was based off of fully my 9 to 5 was the bulk of my income getting paid bi-weekly. And then I would also do clients doing hair. So that would be like 1 or 2 people a week, like very casually through the year. Sometimes it'd be more, sometimes it'd be less, it depends. And then content. Then I started making money from TikTok lives. And at one point I was making money from IG reels. So like I always had a little money dibbling, dabbling, and I would do coffee events. So like, I never had, no, not never, because hair money was a bulk of my money for years. But like content-wise, nothing has like been able to change my life yet, right? But it's definitely been like there for some years now, actually, since like 2019, actually, now that I think about that. Okay, so those are the ways that I've made money. Okay, so some of the things I had to like mentally and internally process from being laid off and when it came to my finances was shame, right? Like at first I was like, oh my God, like, you know what I mean? Like, damn, like who want to be laid off, right? And I'd never been laid off. So I was like, but then I was like, you know what? What could I have done? Like, it wasn't my fault. It was a workforce layoff due to our government and all the other things. So, like, I had to take that off of me. Like, what you feel ashamed for? And then that's when I decided, like, you know what? I'm going to talk about it. Not because it's like, oh, I want to tell my business, but it's just like other people going through it too. And half the government workers were going through it. So I was like, why can't I talk about it, right? Okay. So after the shame and the recognizing the phase of where I was at was the intention. So I'm like, okay, until I figured out the unemployment payment stuff, until I figured out if I was going to find another job, when I was going to start looking for a job, until I realized how content was going to pay bills, okay? I had to be intentional, or I am, because it's currently happening right now. I have to be intentional about my finances, right? So I had to really like, all right now, Alicia, all the little extra little stuff. I still want to live life, right? But just unnecessary stuff just ain't necessary right now. So you do have to be intentional. So A, let's cross out the shame. We're going to cross out shame. And then B, intentional. You got to be intentional more about your money. Okay, C is tracking. More tracking instead of avoiding. So, of course, I know we all check all the apps where all your money is all the time, but like really tracking as the bills are coming in. And we'll talk about that later, about spreadsheets, about due dates and stuff like that. But I really had to stop playing games, and really be tracking what's going on, because things are just coming in, coming out, coming in and coming out. I'm like, hold on. We ain't got a paycheck coming next week. I gotta figure this out, right? So this season has taught me I can't rely on one stream of income. However, I can't panic or stress out if a week is slow. You get what I'm saying? And those of you, especially if you've been an entrepreneur, you know how this goes, right? This isn't new, and being a hairstylist for many years, it changes. It don't matter how much you project, you're still basing your income off of another human. You get what I'm saying? So even if you project, I'm gonna make $1,500 this week or this day or whatever, every client could cancel. You know what I mean? Then what? What's the plan? See what I'm saying? Next thing is, and this is for me and for you, is recognizing your streams of revenue or income. And that could be different things. Like even if you do have a 9-to-5, you might have child support, you might have CDs, whatever it is. Like I just had to say, like really recognizing like the ways that you could make money. You know what I mean? In your life. If you do have other gigs, hustles, DoorDash, Uber, like whatever it may be, like factor all that in. So for me, my streams of revenue right now are content and hair, okay? Content and hair are the ways that I make money right now. Now, some weeks have been great. And then some, okay, are humbling, very humbling. but also motivating, right? It's a little motivating because it's like, okay, I could do better. And maybe from being an entrepreneur for so long, I never like pretended or acted like my income was guaranteed, or like even I will never forget. Okay, memory moment. If Lolita's watching this is who I used to work with for many years, y'all, doing hair. We had like $1,000 day, not to tell our business, but my point is, it's so easy to make a ton of money in one day, right? I don't want to say so easy, but it can happen. But it's like you got so excited from that one day. How do you repeat that day? I feel like you constantly are chasing that high of that one day. And even though when I look back at that moment, it was so cool, we did that, and it was a big deal 15 years ago. You know what I mean? Making $1,000 as a hairstylist in one day was a big deal. But the reality was it never happened again. It never happened again. I mean, I know I got close to it back in the day when I was full time, but like I say all that to say that even the richest of rich people, like you can have these high days and these low days. The key is to be right in that middle and being consistent with it, right? So like I've gotten excited a couple times with my TikTok life. I've had some great lives and battles where I made a bunch of money. Then I've had some where I made like 82 cents. You know what I'm saying? The key is, how do I stay in that middle ground where I don't need this elevated like high of life vibe, you know what I'm saying? Now if we gonna stay there, we gonna stay there, you know what I'm saying? But like I just want to stay right here for a second. Can you pay my bills? Can you pay my automobiles? Okay, so we all got responsibilities, right? We all got responsibilities. And I think sometimes people hear me say peace and they're like, all right, Lisa, you can't be all zen. It's not about being zen, but I feel like you can have responsibility and still be at peace with the fact like it's not going to be perfect all the time. You're not going to have buku money. Sometimes you're going to not necessarily rob Peter or Becky to pay Paul or Paula, but sometimes you just got to do what you got to do what you got to do. You get what I'm saying? Because the reality is bills don't care about vibes, okay? Bills don't care about vibes. I'm just saying, you got to pay the bills, okay? So some of the things I prioritize, like many of us do, is of course your housing bills, your utility, your food, and your car or transportation, whatever that may be. So those are the things that I like. Those got to get done. I don't care. My car got to get paid. All these things got to get paid. The BGE, all of that stuff is non-negotiable. So one of the things I struggled with was avoidance. And I know I shared with y'all, I was an avoider to some extent. I like to communicate, but I also avoided like seeing certain numbers, like some debts that I put myself into at one point in life. And I will say I regret some of them, but I learned from them. But I'm like, why would I do that? Like, oh, so I definitely avoided looking at some of those numbers, like really writing down some of the debts and the bad decisions that I made 3 years ago and like 10 years ago, right? And I just kept like, okay, I'll get to them. And now it's like, I got to get to them. I'm 40. Let me stop playing with these people, okay? So avoidance, like y'all, we got to acknowledge these people. Pay the creditors, pay the debtors. You know, it sucks, but it is. So I have a new rule. I don't guess when it comes to my money no more. I check. I need to know. I have a spreadsheet. I don't play no games. I check every app. So if something look crazy, I know about it. So multi-generational home. So multi-generational home is not some new concept. Living together, multi-generational, grandparents, parents, and kids. Like it's a very common thing. A lot of other cultures do it very normally, regularly. It's not a big deal. So me and my mom, so I'm an only child and so is she from her both parents. So it's me and my mom. That's it, just me and her. And so 2018, she had some health problems and came to me and was like, look, wow. Now, the one thing I will say, when we did live separate, we did used to do like Costco runs and split them and things like that. So we've always had, in my opinion, a multi-generational kind of concept in some ways, even when we didn't live in the same house. We still very much combined our lifestyles and I was still transparent with her about finances. But anyways, 2018, she was like, I think I would rather you live with me. I don't feel comfortable being myself in certain ways and going through health things and whatever. Okay, cool. Me and the girls did that. Then 2020 came and we were able to and decided to buy a home, which was a great time because interest rates were low during COVID, right? We moved into what I figured is just like such a perfect like living situation for us. Like literally she has her own level with her own kitchen and living room. It's a whole vibe, right? Blessed. So fast forward, some of the things how we were able to communicate, and I feel like, and mommy, if you're watching this, you can comment if you agree. I feel like us doing this, it made our relationship stronger, our communication, our transparency. I mean, obviously her watching me grow and even me, I see her growth too, like in us. I don't know, like it's just been cool and watching her retire and preparing for that and a little bit of the chaos because y'all know who runs this country kind of sort of, who affected her government worker, but that's a whole other thing. But us living together honestly was one of the best decisions that I made as a mom, as a daughter for her, as an adult. It just made me feel more safe, more secure, and raising my kids with their grandma. Like, how many people can say that? Like, and she's a great grandma. Like, you know what I'm saying? So some of the things I would suggest if anybody's thinking about a multi-generational home or if it comes up, because as we are the younger middle-aged adults or whatever, we're raising our parents. Y'all get what I'm saying? So these are conversations that y'all might need to start having. Like maybe if y'all don't live in the same home, maybe like a 55 and over community may be an option, or just knowing what the plans are if your parents live in separate homes. Like what's the plan if health or whatever, if things happen, like y'all, we got to have these conversations. So we started having the conversations and we started talking about like finances and budgeting and savings and how we want to run a household. So these were conversations that we were having way before we bought the house. And we also went over scenarios like what happens if you get married? What happens if I get married? What happens if you date? What happens if the girls date? What happens after college? We've thought about a lot of different scenarios. If I one day woke up and was like, you know what? Or if I was in a financial situation and I decided I wanted to buy a home or buy a home with a partner or whatever the case may be, how would that look? Will we rent this house? Or we get, I know I'm probably talking kind of fast, but what I'm saying is we had so many conversations and so many different variations and so many different thoughts. So when people be like, well, what about this? I'm like, you don't want to be a know-it-all, but I'm like, trust me, we talked about it. we talked about it. So I do feel like when you join incomes, if it's with a parent, a spouse, a roommate, or however you do it, you have to be transparent. And transparency is so much deeper than just saying like, oh, I tell you my business. No. Transparency is really what the other person brings in and what the other person brings out. So that's one thing. Even when I was growing up, my mom was very transparent with me about money. And that's probably why I don't get sensitive about money. I don't get scared to talk about money. Me and my friends, if we're going out to eat or whatever, we're like, you got it, what we doing. You know, I don't have that thing that some people do when it comes to money, because she always talked to me about money. If money was tight, if it wasn't, if we had a couple extra dollars, she explained to me why. You get what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't like, not in the Lulu land of why we got a couple extra dollars right now and versus a month ago or something like that. So I think transparency is huge, and it's hard though. It's hard as an adult, because I don't care what nobody say. No matter how comfortable you are with a person, sometimes you feel nervous or, like I said, ashamed, because you don't want them to judge you on why you have this amount of debt or whatever the case may be. So I think you have to start with transparency when it comes to finances with yourself first, and with the other person or whoever you may live with. And I think it's healthy to be transparent if you have older kids, especially like myself, teenage kids. Like, they need to understand how finances work. You get what I'm saying? That Cash App money don't come out of the clear blue sky. Y'all get what I'm saying? Some of the conversations that we started having was how you can contribute, which way, as in like the institution or how, you know, Zelle, whatever like that. So we talked about like how and what type of way you're going to contribute, how consistently. So we divided it up by the mortgage was a separate entity, and then utilities was a separate, and then in the middle was like all the other like little things like household things, Amazon orders, household supplies, and then of course just like helping out as a grandma. We also have very transparent conversations about when money is tight. Oftentimes money is tight, like many of y'all adults know, is like when life happens, unexpected things happen are typically why money gets tight, unless you're just an extra spender and you just be buying stuff when you ain't got the money. Living beyond our means. We all do it. We do. Peace for me also, when it came to this, was being honest with my mom about where things may have been in different aspects of my life. Like not wanting to ask for help. I just, especially when we lived separate, I hated asking her, like really. But as we were living together, and because so many life things has happened, COVID, being laid off, I had to be honest, like, yes, I do. Like when she would offer, because you know, it's very rare that I ask somebody for money specifically, but like she knew. You know what I mean? And so I just had to put my pride aside, okay? And be like, yes, I do. Need a little cushion just for a second. You know what I mean? But those are real conversations that you have to have about money. Okay, y'all, you don't need fancy apps. You don't overcomplicate this. You can use Google Sheets or Excel spreadsheets. I suggest, this is Alicia talking. I suggest spreadsheets, okay? It helps you really see the numbers, y'all. I've been a spreadsheet girl for years. Now, I will say my friend, hey Lex, she put me on to breaking down your due dates. Now that was a lifesaver for me back when I was an entrepreneur, because I needed to like hone in on the like separating the groups of due dates. You know how some bills are due at the beginning of the month, some have like those random middle of the month dates and that type of thing. So that's a big saver for me, because then you have a better idea how to maneuver your money. Okay, so just don't be having spreadsheets just to have them, y'all. Okay, so you can have one big one spreadsheet file and then have tabs broken down. Like some people like to break each thing down and then have one that like formulates into one. You get what I'm saying? So you might have a list of all of your expenses, which would be all of your bills, right? All of your bills, your debt. Some people say debt, whatever. Because there's bills, and then there could be debt. You get what I'm saying? Because sometimes there's debt that we ain't taking care of yet, and it's just sitting over there. You owe them people some money, right? Okay, but those are different conversations, but you get what I'm saying. So we have bills, debt, expenses, whatever you want to call it. Then you want to track expenses, because expenses would be outside of your bill. So expenses could be like DoorDash, like, you know, that's not a bill. So I like to track and see that. And allot myself a certain amount, because we do Out Food Fridays. Sometimes we do that, sometimes we get it in person, but I do allot $50 a week for that. For me, seeing the numbers calms my nerves. It really does. I almost get like a high from seeing the numbers, right? Is that just me? Let me see what I'm bringing in and taking out. Like, cause then it'd be like, oh, okay. Let me slow down. So I like to go through my spreadsheet, like a heavy go through it once a month. I know does that sound like not enough? But I like really go through and fine tooth it once a month, and then like weekly, I just go in and make sure I'm like aligned with it. like I said, I use Google Sheets now. I used to use Excel for years, but there is a couple templates, and I would love to share if you guys want me to. Maybe I'll sit it right here. A good old expense. You can't go wrong with tracking your stuff, y'all. Seeing it. Remember we talked about one thing I'm doing this year, this life for moving forward is owning the low fun season, right? I ain't broke. I ain't never broke. I ain't ever putting that in the atmosphere. Okay, we in between what? Blessings. Okay, the blessings are always coming. But sometimes we might be in between our financial blessing for the moment, a short moment. But then when you sit and look like you are light years, or not even light years, but sometimes you'll sit back and look and be like, you are beyond so many people financially. So you just in between a little moment right now. Sometimes you just got to recognize that the season is temporary when you're in between blessings, but you're developing permanent habits. So like me being at peace with things, me not avoiding debt. Sorry. Me like recognizing certain like things, habits I need to work on. You can still work on those things even when you might not have the heavy income coming in or the money or the savings that you're looking for. You can still be disciplined. Because we not broke, we building, and we in between blessings. This is my financial peace era. If you're claiming more money, more peace, and more clarity over your finances, put a money emoji in the chat, okay? Because we making money this year. Y'all making it with me? Because we making it, and we're clear about it. So thanks for joining me for our financial peace era, Becoming Her episode 5. I will see y'all next week for episode 6.
Yeah, this is me becoming her. Yeah, unapologetic. Watch me emerge. This here my chapter, and I write the